Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for spending your valuable time with the Adapt 2030 channel. Oh, it started. Wood theft in Europe. Own a wood-burning stove in the EU could cost you 50,000 euros if it's too old. Private jet parking to the left, discussions to the right, hypocrisy. They're cutting the forest for heat this year. Vietnam's running out of gas. Seems like it's a coordinated global thing going on. China updating list of approved Brazilian corn exporters. They're looking for way more imports. Problem is, where Brazil gets its wheat from Argentina, they're so low on yield, allowing exporters to break agreements. Brazil even looking for 1.5 million tons they can't get from Argentina. And like our world, with the bountiful food, what happens if 3 out of those 6 dishes were to disappear? And starting off with a site you generally don't want to see. Morning drive to work, would you still keep going into that? Because solar activity, a horseman rides, does seem to fit the times. And here's something so interesting. In Latvia, benches that were at bus stops are turned into firewood. At least 15 benches. Waiting for the bus, and somebody's cut the wood planks because the wood in the forest is too wet to burn in the fireplace and it's already dry enough to burn. Sawdust. Like, I don't know why they didn't collect the sawdust, because that's definitely a burnable as well. Compact that up or dry it out, flake it to start a fire, super easy. And then going right along with that, operating older stoves can result in a fine up to 50,000 euros. There's a conversion obligation in the EU because they're like, wait, your smoke, you're burning wood, it's too polluting. Yet there's no natural gas, so a lot of countries in Europe are moving back to wood. Poland, Latvia. So let me ask you then, what if you had a 100-year-old wood-burning stove or a 50-year-old wood-burning stove? And they said you can't use that anymore. You can only use the new one that you have to buy again. I mean, would you accept that? There's been smoke for millions of years as hominoids all the way up to Homo sapiens sapien right now through the Denisovans and the Neanderthals. Everybody created smoke for millions of years, cooking with wood. Like, is that fair to come into your house and say, oh no, you can't use that one anymore. It's not good enough that it works good. You just have to buy a new one because we could put a different damper on it, a different airflow, and then call it something new that you have to buy again. Now really ask yourself, would you abide by that? And then who's going to turn in somebody who has an old wood-burning stove in their house or a fireplace? Because Spain not immune either, one of the largest hydropower plants. It's going to halt operation, and get this, it's the first time ever since 1996 that it will be halted. Up in the northeast Aragon region, obviously there's mountains, and this is where the drainage is coming down. And before we start, just a quick word from our sponsor. Wall Street's fear gauge is flashing a warning that stocks could fall off a cliff. Billionaire economists agree on 2 things. We're heading towards a lost decade for the stock market, and investors need to buy gold. Call the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. 888-546-7020. Your IRA can be in physical gold or silver, and you may qualify for the no fee for life IRA. 888-546-7020. And now on with the video. Look at German food prices, year-on-year inflation. Again, a lot of these are underestimated, but it's still at least 20%, 20.3%. And those are the official numbers. So really, what do you think is causing that spike upward? Really just suddenly supposed to believe that everything, food's up and hasn't been like that 3 or 4 decades, and just suddenly it happened. Like, why right now with this reset is this happening? Should be more of the question. And if you're looking for something that is hypocrisy at its best, in an animated form, private jet parking to the left, discussions to the right. You really have to not be looking if you don't see those 2 together. And as the world goes round, Vietnam gas stations start to close due to widespread shortages. because European countries are buying vast amounts of petroleum products that are then taking away from their suppliers. They're like, oh, Europe's going to pay more. Okay, because come to find out, there's government cap on gasoline prices. So they can't pass these rising costs on to any consumer, but they need to buy on the world market, but it's been capped in Vietnam. So what happens if this begins to go around the planet like this, where everybody starts to put price caps? Europe talked about it with the energy, electricity pricing, and also it's a lack of refineries. But here's the takeaway. They're not located close to where the main demand is. So then you need to start to think about our world in terms of crop growing regions. How far or how close are they away from the consuming point? Same, but different. And this headline will give you a glimpse of the future. How many countries are out there looking for food imports? It's now China Customs updates its list of approved corn exporters from Brazil. So I'll let you answer the question yourself. What do you think that means? We're going to jump over to Mercosur, another trade agreement area, just like the EU, just like NAFTA. These countries are all trading amongst themselves, and Argentina drought will force Brazil to purchase wheat in non-Mercosur suppliers. So you got to think to yourself, wait, Argentina is right next door. There's a border with Argentina and Brazil. They usually buy 6 million tons, according to the news articles and information. 6 million tons from Argentina every year. But this year, they're having such low yields that Brazil is going to be looking out on the market for 1.5 million tons where they can't even get it from next door neighbors. And then when you look over at the Rosario Grains Exchange, their forecast 13.7 million tons, but I was reading that was forecast to drop to mid 12 million tons. And in blue, far below the bumper 23 million tons. So if you even leave that where it is now, it's 10 million tons down. So I'd ask you again, where's the world going to get its grains from? Clearly in black and white. Argentina is so far down, and it's going into the third La Nina, which the drought is going to continue to intensify. And Brazil said it's going to keep a lot of its soy in the country to wait for the prices to rise, and then they're going to sell it. Corn's an unknown, but you see what's happening with China. So if you go around the world and you look at the amount of grains not being grown and exported right now, everywhere you look, minus 30% across the EU. U.S. is down to 170 bushels per acre average corn when the forecast was 190. It's going to continue to drop across all these nations. Then where's it coming from? Is the question. Where is the grain and the corn and the wheat and the soy and the oats and the barley and the millet? Where's all they going to come from as all these zones in the southern hemisphere that grow these crops continue to see more amplified losses, especially with the Tonga eruption now, verified tallest, highest water vapor cloud ever. That has an effect on how much sunlight penetrates down to the ground in a watts per meter squared fashion. It's affecting now crop production. So we're looking at all the northern hemisphere crop losses, and then where does that leave us? So looking at the harvest data here, this is in millions of tons, so 10 million tons, 20 million tons on the left. But notice both the planting area that's yellow on the far right, 2022, 2023, and the harvest area are both down from last year. And if you try to bring that yellow all the way out, you got to go back to 2017-18 to see that. 2015-16 to see low harvest. Every little bit counts. Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, Chile, and then EU. Oh, and now it's starting to add up. No, now Ukraine, now parts of America, now parts of Canada. And then this is reaching into the trading markets, and you knew it would. Argentina is set to permit wheat export delays amid drought. They're going to be allowing legally that you can't have any legal action against their exporters if they delay to agreed shipments. They're just stopping short of force majeure. So you can do simple math. Let's go back to the early 1900s. This is in Uruguay. Speaking of South America, beautiful architecture. Notice the spires coming off the rooftops. A lot of people say that could have been wireless power. This reflects our world so perfectly. It was given these supply chains built up the world, energy flows, commodities flows, and brought us to the table 8 dishes deep of what we had back in 2018-19. Suddenly, in a coordinated fashion, it seems like the energy is being removed. Okay, there's the front dish. Oh, and then that's the natural gas, and then it's the wood, and then it's corn and wheat and barley. It seems like half of the table is being removed on purpose in the exact same coordinated fashion. What happens with the rest of the guinea pigs around the table when that's going to happen? And could you get them to change their food source or their behavior because you gave them food? And speaking of growing your own food, True Leaf Market Heirloom and Organic Seeds for any grow zone on the planet. You want to get into microgreens during this winter? Here you go. Also every 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time, Thursday night, right along with Ransom Godwin, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, mini Ice Age conversations, streaming live 8 different platforms. I'll put the links in the community tab of the Adapt 2030 channel so you can follow along on your favorite platform. I do thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. Now it's a numbers game. Every country you're going to have to monitor to see how much is going to be slashed from their yield. And then you can get a global total. And then the aha moment comes. That aha moment will also come for the markets and for the general populace in about 3, 2, 1. See you next time. Bye for now.